Oh, let me tell you something. Busting makes me feel good.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Blockbusting, the podcast where we love to hate the movies. I'm your host, Jay Light. Joining me today, Douglas Fager.
Oh, is it Douglas on here?
Douglas.
Is that what I'm showing him?
I know you're Douglas.
Hey,
it's fine.
when I'm a film critic, it's Douglas.
Yes. It's very serious. It's the most
Gives me a little more
serious form of Doug.
Credibility, for sure.
Yeah. Doug, it's a pleasure to finally have you on. You have been an elusive guest because you are one of these people who just likes everything. It seems
I like a lot of... I don't really like being negative about other people's art, and I don't find a lot of stuff that I hate enough to, like, record it.
Right.
But I really couldn't. I mean, there's a lot with this movie that I could not stand. There's a couple parts that I'm like, that almost made it worth watching, but it's not. It's not enough.
Doug.
It's not enough. And it's not only is it not enough, it's a slap in the face to what I think is a Mount Rushmore comedy of all time in Groundhog Day.
Right.
You took it and you millennialized it. And like, why would you do that? Why would you take something so perfect and then rub your Andy Samberg stink on it? What are we talking about? Leave it alone. It's perfect.
Well, what we're talking about is Palm Springs. And Palm Springs is...
Oh, we didn't even say that.
We didn't even say that.
No one even knows
yet.
That's how excited I am. I'm like, I got to shit on it before the name even comes out.
Less than 2 minutes, Doug has already spread out his thesis of why he hates Palm Springs, which I felt was not only just a total delight, just a very fun, airy, goofy movie, and a good take on Groundhog Day, which has had enough movies that have happened in that vein to become sort of a genre in and of itself. But not only does it do that, I think so far, for my money, out of the movies I've seen, best movie of the year so far. And I have a lot of 2020 movies to see still, but yeah, it's unbelievable that you can't like a movie that's this fun, Doug. How?
It's not fun. Also, I'm not sure that it requires its own genre at this point. I looked it up. There's like 30 movies that have done this. A lot of them are TV movies since 1973. Only one before Groundhog Day, was even a film, and that was a short film. And then one in 1993 made it to TV. It was a TV film, and then Groundhog Day. So, but since then, what do we got? Like Live, Die, Repeat. What do we do?
We got Russian Doll.
Russian Doll. I guess
one,
Butterfly Effect is kind of that, but
that one movie with Adam Devine in it. That was a Netflix movie with the kissing booth. I think it was called The Kissing Booth.
Okay.
Or The Photo Booth or something. It's one of those movies. I didn't watch it.
What an epic genre. What a
But it's okay. I mean, but you said it yourself, right? Groundhog Day is like on the Mount Rushmore of comedy movies.
Yes.
I think
for
for
me.
good reason. Yeah. Why do you like Groundhog Day so much, but Palm Springs just didn't do it for you?
First of all, also, earlier I said Andy Samberg stink. I actually like Andy Samberg a lot.
Okay.
Doing his thing. He doesn't have the not Andy Sambergness enough to weigh down this movie in some kind of reality or emotional connection, right? You called it optimistic nihilism, this movie, in your review on Instagram. I would say it's like he's got this chipper nihilism, right?
Right.
Throughout the movie. And what Groundhog Day does is it takes the being stuck in the same day, and it's weighted down by Bill Murray's strong desire to exit this day, right? What is his want? Right? His want is to get out of Punxsutawney and get out of this terrible day for him.
Because he hates the day. He has a really bad day and he tries to go. Yeah.
He hates the day. So the lead character has a very strong want. Now, what's Andy Samberg's want in Palm Springs?
Andy Samberg wants to escape life and stay in the day.
But we don't really know that until the very end. He doesn't really explain that. That doesn't come out until he has a moment with her where he has to decide whether he loves her more than staying in the day. He never really shows that he loves it there.
Here's my okay, this is immediately where I take issue with your interpretation of the movie, is that you think this is Andy Samberg's movie. This ain't Andy Samberg's movie.
I caught that too, and it isn't. You're right.
It's Kristen Miliotti's movie.
100%. 100%. And the thing is though with her, but I totally agree with you on that. It is her movie. But her want even gets muddy too, right? Because initially she's trying to figure it out, and then they have this sort of montagey thing where they're doing all the fun gags and stuff, and she kind of likes it there. They're having fun. She's enjoying herself. And her want then is super muddy. She doesn't change it until she wakes up that next morning, I guess because of the differential between how much of a great day she had with him and now I woke up and it's still terrible. You didn't realize that yesterday when you've done this 1,000 times already that tomorrow morning was going to suck?
But maybe she did realize it. Maybe she's been trying to press it down and tamp it down.
Because she wakes up that morning.
Joy.
No. Because she wakes up that morning in bed joyful. She forgot. She's like, oh, what a lovely night. And she wakes up, and then the fiance is in the room, and she goes, oh, and then she's going off.
But she's okay. So. We gotta back up. We're spoiling things 7 minutes into the podcast. We're hitting the gas. We're passionate.
There'll be plenty. Trust me. We can hit. we can loop around as much as we want, Jay. Don't worry.
We're stuck in the loop, dude. You're stuck. You're in here with me in this interpretation. So, Palm Springs. It just came out, right? It's a movie that was on Sundance. It was the highest. Or not the highest, the most money-making movie at Sundance. It sold for I think 16 million, maybe 19 million, which is a record. And Hulu bought it, Neon and them co-released it. Literally just came out a couple weeks ago by the time we're recording this and by the time this will be out. Now, what led you to watch the movie in the first place? Because obviously we're in a totally different time where we're not watching movies in theaters. So you have a lot more choice in terms of we have all of the stuff on the streaming platforms. Why did this call to you in the first place? And what was your experience like watching it?
It literally was on your recommendation from
yeah.
Oh. I was like, oh, this looks great. I love I love the Groundhog Day sort of theme. I love
the genre of Groundhog Day.
I wouldn't go that far. It's not. But and I thought, and I do like Andy Samberg,
right?
And the artwork was great. I was like, oh, this looks like fun.
It's a good poster.
Palm
It's
Springs.
a real fun poster.
So I was like, oh, let's give this a shot. I also had another couple comedian friends who seemed to really like it. And so people that I trust. And I was like, okay, this should be fun. And the first 10 minutes were. The first 10 or 15 minutes are fun. They're good at the gag. They run the gag from the beginning to the end, and there's lots of gags in it. But it kind of ends up, to me, being an idea movie as opposed to a movie that's anchored in relationships and really strong characters.
Interesting. I had such a different experience watching this movie than you did, I think. Because I do think that the idea is not the thing that carries the movie. I think that the characters and the way they react are what carry the movie. I think the fact that we have the clash overtly of at first Andy Samberg, we come in on Andy Samberg, he's already in the loop. He's stuck. We have no idea how long he's been in there already, right? He's Bill Murray midway through Groundhog Day at this point. He knows everything that's happened. He knows every move. He knows how everybody's gonna dance, right? And he's accepted where he is. And Kristen Milioti finally, we see her just like she's having a real shit time, right? She's at her sister's wedding,
and she's fantastic.
Drunk.
By the way, I will say she's great. She's a really good actress. She's great,
a really good actress. But she's playing just the depressed, artist, whatever, alcoholic, however, whatever the brain brokenness is that manifests for her, she wears it out on her sleeve, right? To the point where by the end of the of this first act, right? If we're gonna break it down into acts,
sure.
She gets into the time loop, she gets stuck with Andy Samberg, and she realizes that, oh, well, I can't get out of this loop. She wants to get out of the loop at first, right? But she can't. Because she wants to be able to move on. But then she's like, well, I'm just going to try and be stunted and not move on then if I can't. And that's where you have this very fun second act, which I think is the real meat of the movie, the characters evolving at all, because they both hang out with each other instead of the only other person in the time loop, who's J.K. Simmons, who's hunting Andy Samberg, and is also great in this movie, I think, too.
It's a fun gag, too. The J.K. Simmons thing is a fun gag. It felt a little shoehorned in for me.
Do you hate fun, Doug?
Oh, I love fun. I love fun when it's anchored in some kind of emotional truth. And I never bought there was no slow growth in their kind of falling in love with each other. It was they were buddies, it felt like, almost the whole time, until it was she literally says, I think, should we just get this over with, when they're going to sleep together. And then they do, and she wakes up and she's so happy. And it's
well, because they sleep together. They're clearly embarking on some form of a relationship, but she can't do that if she's waking up next to her sister's fiance every morning.
Sure.
But she has to be able to move on from that moment.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I think
I need to see some kind of affection at some point between those two. And you don't see it until, and I know we're jumping back and forth, but you don't see it until the very end. And I liked the very end.
Doug,
there's no real affection until the until they blow out of the loop.
I'm going to ask you something.
Okay.
What do you mean by affection? Give me an example of what you're looking for from what would you have liked them to do?
Something that isn't this 30-something millennial too cool to tell somebody that you like them kind of song and dance thing, when you've spent 3 years together, maybe. Who knows how long they've been looping around in there together, and nobody's gonna be like, hey, I really like you. You're the only two people that can remember that sort of thing. And so nobody's taken the risk yet. Nobody's gonna jump for it and just be like, hey, I really like you. I love you. And then, you know what would have been interesting? If that happened in the first act, and then they found a way in the second act to fuck that up. Maybe he doesn't maybe the fiance thing does bug him if it's a different person other than Andy Samberg, because Andy Samberg is kind of I'm also sick of the total
Are you
weak.
sick of Andy Samberg?
No, I like Andy Samberg. I'm sick of sort of weak men roles where they're just this kind of soft, like accept everything.
Right. Well,
guys, like
people at a certain point, I think this goes to like the 30-something millennial notion that you bring up, which I totally understand, because the overarching like neon sign about millennials is that we are soft, weak people, right? So there's a lot of visions of that on screen, I think, and much more so in the past couple of years of like film and TV, where the portrayal of somebody who's our age is a weak person, and especially a weak dude, because millennial dudes, oh boy, we're grist for the mill, man. We're a bunch of beta cucks.
It's
we
like
can't hang out. We are stunted emotionally. Peter Pan syndrome having ass dorks.
it's like the Mark Duplass sort of effect. It's like, oh, I've got this wife who's a nag, and like I'll just take it because who cares? Whatever. Just it's sort of male nihilism. Like, oh, what's the difference? I'm such a fucking pussy. It's like,
right.
Where are strong male characters anymore?
Where are the Kevin Jameses of the world? Where is the King of Queens right now?
Where are the Bill Murrays? Bill Murray is a strong male character who isn't offensive to women. He's not
Yeah, you're right.
aggressive, but he is 100% embodies himself and has a point of view. It's strong. He doesn't take any shit. But like Andy Samberg, in this at least, is that millennial weak boy.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
What does she say? She says it. She like lays
She
it out.
calls him a
at some point.
sad boy.
You're
Yeah,
a
she
sad
calls
boy.
him like a pretentious sad boy.
Pretentious sad boy. That's what
Yeah.
millennials, we're pretentious sad boys, dude. And I think that's part of the thing that I also like about the movie is that although, yes, it is leaning into this like caricature of a millennial, it also has a really strong female lead who is calling him out on his shit and like, we can't fucking do this. We have to move on. We have to get out of this rut. We can't be in this like stunted growth, nothing ever changing. We have to move forward. You got to bootstrap it, right? You got to pull yourself up and kick yourself out using a bomb in quantum physics.
But they don't. They just end up in a pool being lazy. It's not like they do it and then they come out and kick ass and take names. It's like, oh, then they're still there. Just they don't like at the end of Groundhog Day, like what? They're in love. They're, who knows? They're going to get married. Like everything's moving in the right direction. In this, at the end, they're just like, well, I guess since life sucks in general, at least now I got somebody. I think they even say in one of the last, in their last little speech before they go into the cave, she says that something about how if you could make life suck a little bit less, something to that effect. Mm-hmm. And then they're in a pool and it's like, okay, that's the most we can hope for, is that find somebody that makes life suck a little less. And I don't want to see that in a movie. That's not why I go to the movies. I go to the movies for something like, for a higher possibility, right? For the idea of something greater. And when we're in this mode where everything is the same and does feel the same, and a lot of things do feel like, it doesn't matter, Right. I want to feel like things do. I want the opposite of that. Not somebody who gets it. We all get it right now.
Oh, yeah, we all understand it.
We all understand it. I don't want the movie that makes me feel like that, but just on a screen.
Interesting. Well, here's what we'll do. Because I at first, when you told me that you didn't like this movie, I couldn't understand why. And I think, although I still think that there are parts of your interpretation that I don't agree with, as far as some of the character growth and the affection the love moments that you need. I think that your point of view makes sense, which I could not say that before, because this movie is so...
I'm going to get you to hate this movie, Jay. I'm going to get you to hate this movie.
Only one person was able to make me pull a full flip on a movie, and that was Jake Weissman. And I'm not sure if we can get to that level, but we'll try. You can keep trying, Doug.
Now, I know we want to stay on point here, but what movie was that? 3
Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Okay, I could see a flip on that. I was a little on the fence on that one.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is I went from really liking it to he laid out his argument top to bottom so well. I was just like, man, I didn't think about it from any of that point.
He's for sure smarter than I am, though. So, I don't think you have to worry about that here.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, Jake's way smarter than I am.
We're gonna be all right. Yeah, Jake is sold and continues to operate a television show. Neither of us have come close to that.
Jake, yet.
Yeah, that's a big
2021's.
Yeah, if there's still TV in 2021, we will sell something for it. So let's watch the trailer for Palm Springs first of all.
It's gonna be a beautiful wedding.
A fun time.
Here you are, standing on the precipice of something so much bigger than anyone here. But always remember, you are not alone.
There we
I
go.
don't think that we met. I'm Sarah.
Niles.
Hi.
So sweet.
They didn't even use this song in the movie. I would have liked it more.
Nice.
They really, that's a missed opportunity. Great trailer. Great moment.
Right?
Niles?
Don't come in here.
What the?
It's gonna be a beautiful wedding.
Good day so far? Today,
Yep,
tomorrow,
and there's
tomorrow.
there's your alarm clock moment. There's that you're hearing every
Guess you
day.
followed me. It's one of those
I got you,
time
babe.
loop
That's what I was
situations
looking
you
for.
might have heard about.
That I might have heard about.
Yeah. The second you fall asleep, it all just goes back to the start.
I drove all the way back home to Austin, and I still woke up here.
One time I smoked a bunch of crystal and made it all the way to Equatorial Guinea. It was a huge waste of time.
Well, then what's the point of living?
We kind of have no choice but to live.
See?
No, I'm gonna
fun.
get out of this.
Great time.
Suit yourself.
This trailer is fun.
See you tomorrow.
This trailer.
This trailer's fun.
They should have just played this on repeat.
now what do we
Put
do?
this on a
You
loop.
just have to
I would have
embrace
liked
the
it
fact
more.
that nothing matters.
And it still would have got the same point
Great
across.
question. I have.
Wrong.
But it takes a lot of work. May I cut in? It's the first dance. And that's a deal breaker?
That didn't work. Let's waste some time.
Oh, you pretty things. Don't you know you're driving This is crazy!
You want to dance? You know the officiant? He's got a bag of sweets in his
See,
pocket.
this song has emotional weight
Right.
to it.
Got 'em.
It makes it better.
Oh, you pretty things.
I think
Don't you know you're
I can't keep waking up in here.
the movie has the emotional weight.
Everything that we are doing is meaningless.
I hope it's not all meaningless.
At least you have each other. Nothing worse than going through this shit alone.
Stop! There's a bomb in the cake. Don't worry. I used to be a bomb guy. Stand back!
It's gonna be a beautiful wedding.
Just fun. Just a good time.
What that proved is this had all the bones of a really, really great movie. And for me, it didn't hit it. It like that trailer, again, I made this joke a minute ago, but like if the trailer were a day and the movie were a lifetime, I would have rather got stuck in that day than go through a lifetime that is that movie. Like just run that trailer over and over again. That's more of an experience than the movie was.
But okay, so I mean, you can say whatever you want about it. We're all supposed to like trailers, blah 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 blah, right? But as far as to your other point, and this is the thing I do take issue with, is that you say that there's not enough growth or affection between the characters. You don't think anybody's actually growing, right? Mm-hmm. here's where I think, I mean, it's the simple shit. It's the simple stuff that makes these characters tick and makes their growth work. And I think that you have to have a second act full of goofy scenes like Andy Samberg talking about all the people he's tried to have sex with, or them doing their this sequence where they wake up one morning and they do this. And they run in. It's a great time. Because you know there's some dumb shit about to happen.
100%. But they still keep each other at arm's length. Even when they decide to have sex.
But that's he's trying to keep her at arm's length. And she, I don't think, wants to keep him at arm's length. That's the key takeaway, I think, from that scene where they're in the tent together about to have sex.
I would have guessed the opposite. That he wants her, but she's not as sure.
Regardless, I think what we're getting at, the larger point that we're getting to is that you have, by the end of the second act, this whole... It's a perspective flip where Andy Samberg and Kristen Milioti at that point both have to feel this need to get out of the time loop for different reasons. Andy Samberg's is because he finally realizes he has to stop acting like a pretentious sad boy. And
no, his is because he loves her.
Right, and because he loves her, and he has to stop acting like a pretentious sad boy to be with her, to get out of there. Because being a pretentious sad boy means that he's just stuck in the time loop forever, because that's where he can be safe and doesn't have to actually do anything with his life. I think another scene that illustrates this too is where he goes to J.K. Simmons' house in Irvine, and J.K. Simmons, he's an old man. Right? He's a dude, he's got a family, he's got a wife, and he's like, this is a pretty good day for me. So it's a day that he's like okay with existing in, and he's just fine. But he's also sad in his own way because he'll never get to watch his kids grow up, right? He'll never he's never going to get to see any of this other stuff happen that he laments to Andy Samberg about.
He's also the only character that the only informed character, because everybody else is kind of outside of their existence, right? He's the only informed character who has any redeemable qualities, who is throughout kind of, aside from hunting Andy Samberg, which you kind of understand given the scenario.
Yes.
You don't blame him.
No, and every time he hunts Andy Samberg, it's great. It's great.
And then, but then you have Andy Samberg and Christina Milian, right? That's how
you're thinking Christina Milian. This is Kristen Milioti.
Kristen Milioti.
This isn't Russell Wilson's wife. This
Kristen Milioti. Thank you.
This is not the girl who sang the Proud Family theme song. This is Ted's wife, and Now I Met Your Mother.
Good pull. They don't even do enough to redeem themselves from my point of view throughout the movie at all. So she fucks her sister's fiance, right?
Yes.
The night before the wedding.
Yes.
She wakes up. Her idea, when she has her altruistic day, she thinks she's going to get out. She's going to go and do the most altruistic thing, thinking that will be the thing that breaks her out of the loop.
Right.
Her idea, or the script's idea, is that her most altruistic thing is to go in the middle of the wedding and tell the sister, and then go and get drunk at a bar. And she thinks, oh, well, that did it. I told my sister that I fucked her fiance. And then at the end, her sort of, her coming to her big apology, or her coming for redemption, her mea culpa, whatever it might be, is just like looking at the now husband and being like, don't mess this up, and giving a really nice speech. It's like like I was saying earlier, it's like I think Louis C.K. kind of pioneered this idea that like, hey, we're all kind of pieces of shit. So like, when you do something nice, that's cool too, but like, whatever. And it's lowered the bar for everybody, and nobody raised the bar here. Nobody, like, she didn't do enough to make me not to forget or make me not feel like, yo, you did like one of the worst things a person could ever do, really. And, and you didn't earn the redemption. I realize in a perfect world, redemption is free, forgiveness is free. I get it. I'm and Christian. If you're Buddhist, it doesn't. None of it. You know, like no matter what religion you're working in, like.
And in a perfect world, time loops don't exist, and we don't have to get stuck.
but in the movie, in the movies are this world of where we want morality. We want the scales to be balanced, right? We want things to look the way that we hope they would, right? It's our idealized sense of humanity. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's the nitty-gritty and it's the dark. But this did something in the middle where it didn't want to be... It's like if you had It's a Wonderful Life, you took that movie, and then you had some millennials that like let's say George comes home and he's just like kind of cool with hanging out with Mary, and they're like, Bedford Falls is like, all right, we'll figure it out. Let's make another drink. It'll be cool. It's like, where is the higher ideal in this movie? There's none. And it's like, so then if you want to tell me that this is some meta sort of thing where it's like, well, it's kind of like Palm Springs. It's vapid. There's no real reason for being there. It's kind of a waste of time. And at the end, you wonder why you did it at all. Like, what am I doing? You're kind of a piece of crap the whole time you're there. Then I'll buy it. But
this, okay. See, this is the thing is like, I think that, yeah, the pieces of shit were all, the bar is lowered. I'm with you on that argument. I think that is that's a fine stand to take, because I agree with you. I think a lot of media now promotes that idea, right? And this is back to what we were talking about a little earlier about how millennials in sort of the culture as a whole have been relegated to this status where it's like, all right, millennials are babies who don't know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And they are garbage, and we should not like them as a whole. Okay, we're just going to put them in this little box, this safe space. Oh, millennials love a safe space, right? And then you just shove it, and you're good. Mm-hmm. But where I think that argument does not quite hold water for this movie is because the change that these characters go through. Sure, it's not a huge change. It's not. It's not a real big, like, seismic shift. But for a movie where the stakes are, we have to figure out, first of all, how to get out of this time loop. Mm-hmm. But that's just the plot device in the movie, right? The real stakes for the characters in this movie, for Kristen Milioti and Andy Samberg, is they have to become people who are motivated to and okay with leaving the time loop. Because the time loop just represents like safety and comfort and not having to change. The time loop, it gives you license to not have to do anything. Which is why I think Groundhog Day still is the end-all be-all for time loop movies, not only because it kicked everything off, but because you have Bill Murray in that movie go through everything. You see all of the phases. Mm-hmm. Palm Springs, we don't see all the phases, really. We get a very condensed version of what it's like for Kristen Milioti at the very beginning. when she's in the time loop for the first time. We get her sort of trying to like, freaking out, trying to find her way out and killing herself and all these different things. And then accepting where she's at, and then finally feeling motivated enough to change and remove herself from the time loop so that she can move on. That, I think, is the real like growth for her. Andy Samberg, whatever, he's gonna try and make it work with Kristen Milioti anyway. Whatever. It's not really his movie. It's Kristen Milioti's movie, so I can let that slide. But Bill Murray, we get to see his character actually grow through the entire process of his growth. Mm-hmm. That's something that we don't get in Palm Springs, and you're right. We are robbed of that full spectrum of growth, which is a little sad.
Well, and another example from Groundhog Day that sort of redeems the character, right? Even though he doesn't even go to quite the extent that the characters in Palm Springs do of kind of being pieces of crap. But they have that whole redemptive sequence where Bill Murray is trying to save the homeless guy, right? Mm-hmm. And so you're back on board with him, right? You're back on board with him as a good person. And then they move into the love story and him trying to like learning all the things to woo Andy McDowell's character.
Right.
And all of those are redemptive. And all of those give the movie, it's what leaves you walking out of the theater or when the credits roll feeling good. I don't know what about this movie other than like some fun gags made me feel good. And that's okay. It's okay to be that movie. It's not okay to be that movie after Groundhog Day. It's not okay to make that movie after somebody did it so well and then to take it and like millennialize it. It's just, why did you do that?
But I think you almost need to have, it's not a millennial version. It's not the millennialized thing. This is the rom-com way of doing Groundhog Day, right? This is the version where
there was not nearly enough rom then in this rom-com.
There's plenty of rom.
If this was the rom-com version,
you got too much.
There's more rom in Groundhog Day.
You're too sappy of a rom, man.
100%.
I'll watch some dumb choreographed dances and some sweet shroomy moments in a tent where they see dinosaurs and everybody just kind of figures out, oh, hey, if I actually want to be the kind of person who I would feel good about being with, and I want to be that person for somebody, that means I need to move out of this space that I'm in of feeling stuck and safe. Literally,
they didn't have any push and pull moments in it. There were no, like, even that. It was like really bro-y, and like it was like they could have just been buds out in the desert. And that's
nah.
There was no push and pull between these two. And aside from like the fun of like even that dance scene, there wasn't a ton of chemistry. Did you feel true chemistry between these characters?
Yeah. I did.
Not comedic chemistry.
No, not
romantic
chemistry.
Romantic chemistry.
I felt romantic chemistry. I felt romantic chemistry in the fun
idea.
No, not in the idea. In the the freewheeling infatuation. I guess it's maybe not something that, who knows, it might not be very long lasting. Like, I could see there's probably never going to be a sequel to this movie because these characters are, let's face it, they're not going to wind up together in the long run. They're going to date for a little while, then they'll figure out some shit's going to go wrong. They're not going to be good for each other. But we don't need to see that, man. We just need to see them in the honeymoon phase where they're figuring out like, oh, this is great. This is a blast. Happy millionth birthday, dipshit. That's romance right there. That's puppy love.
But see, that's the problem though, is that it does that afterwards. If you do play it out in your mind, it does kind of go to where you just took it. It doesn't leave you going like, oh, that'll end well, you know.
Well, you know what I don't think about when I leave a movie, Doug, is I wonder what happens to these characters in a year. I don't think about. I just think, cool, that movie was over. I had a fun time. I'm gonna split.
Well, maybe you're just not as advanced a thinker as I am, Jay. Another problem. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Hit me with it.
Real quick. So J.K. Simmons hits him with the blame for him going into the cave, right? Mm-hmm. And being in the loop. And then after that fact, right, where he knows that he's been getting killed by J.K. Simmons, why would you ever take another person anywhere near the cave? There's 1,000 miles of desert around you. Why?
Drinking? I don't know.
Why would you go there?
Man, people do stuff when they're drunk, Doug.
All right.
I can't answer all these questions that you have.
It's just a small issue I had. Sorry, you were going to say.
Well, I just say I have. I think this is actually a good place to tie a bow on this discussion, and I have a question for you to wrap things up, which is, clearly this movie didn't fit your ideal in many regards. Mm-hmm. If you could map the time loop conceit onto a movie, mm-hmm. what would you do? Like, what kind of movie would you map it onto? Because there's been a couple, like I said, there's been a couple iterations. You don't think the rom-com, you don't think this is rom-com-y enough. Does it need to have, do we need to do like Notebook time loop? Do we need to go full rom-dram? Or do we need to go somewhere else?
No, I think this movie it was like so close. Like, if they explored the relationship in a way that was believable and from earlier on, because he's met her 1,000 times. He could already be in love with her when she gets into the loop. Maybe he's mortified by it, but they are where they are. They fall in love. Then something happens. Boom, now we change acts. Boom, now there's a catalyst. They break up, but they're stuck in the loop. They're stuck in the loop together. And I should be writing this down, though.
You should be writing this down.
But now they're stuck.
They're going to need a sequel for this movie where we can actually be happy with what happened.
Exactly. And now they're stuck in the loop, but they're the only two people that get each other. It's sort of like every rom-com, like you have to come together because you are drawn to this person or circumstances bring you back. And so they come back together in the end. They find a way out together, or what, you know. There were so many more opportunities to make this a relationship movie as opposed to an idea movie full of gags that had some kind of that had a relationship, but the relationship wasn't the driving force of it, and the wants were a little muddy. You didn't even know why she hated it. I think you could have known. I mean, I know it's an act change, but like, I feel like you could have known why she didn't. If you had front loaded some of those actions, you could have put a different change at the end of Act 1, where like, okay, you know right away that she banged the fiance, and then you know she's a way more informed character. They didn't give us a lot of the information until later. They backloaded all this information that would have made the characters a lot more interesting had we known it right away. And then we could have dealt with the reality while knowing the characters, as opposed to like knowing the reality and then getting to know the characters. But by the time you know them, it's like you've got 20 minutes left. You're like, what? Why? Why didn't you let me know these characters from the get-go? I don't know. That's my thought.
Man. I mean, you didn't change my mind on this movie, but you made me think about it in a different way, Doug. And I think you should take that as a high compliment that you have outsmarted the premise of this podcast. Nah, I still think, but that's the thing. I say I still like this movie a lot. For me, it's still it still has that visceral. Like I didn't walk. I went to a drive-in to see this movie, but I drove out thinking and feeling just like a sense of joy with this movie, and I feel like if I watched it again, I would still feel that, even though I can look at it and say, yeah, these characters might not wind up together, but I think that they grew in a way that we have different opinions on their growth. And you know what, Doug? That's fine. That's totally all right.
And I think maybe I came in with too high of expectations because Groundhog Day is one of my favorite movies. Mm-hmm. And I did enjoy like the first 15 minutes, and I enjoyed like the last 10 or 15 minutes. But then in the middle, it like really lost me. It felt really unanchored, and that was that. But like, there's some fun stuff.
I think it's hard to compare stuff once you have like, okay, I know that Groundhog Day is the top of the pops, right? The end all be all of this of not just this kind of a movie, but of comedy movies, sort of in general. It's hard to compare, and I think that had I gone into watching this movie with that in mind, because I love Groundhog Day, but it's far from. I would maybe put it in my top 10 favorite comedies, but I certainly, it's not coming to mind as like immediate top 5 for me. But I think it's a really great movie, and I think it holds up, certainly. But I think I think that's part of the key too. I think we just figured it out, Doug.
Yeah.
What I need to do is I need to go watch Groundhog Day every day, and then a week after I've watched that every day, then I watch Palm Springs, and I think, oh, I should have just been watching Groundhog Day this whole time. What am I doing?
Yeah, you know, or go watch a Frank Capra movie and then be like, oh man, this is a real downer, this Palm Springs.
Oh yeah, I'll just go watch. I'll watch It's a Wonderful Life again.
Yeah,
or I'll watch Why We Fight. Let's go real old school Capra. Let's watch some fucking war propaganda, huh? Well, Doug, I am so, man, I can't say happy, but I'm glad we did this.
Dude, me too. It's been a long time coming.
It has been. And I will never forgive you for making me think this way about my favorite movie of the year, but I'm sure there's going to be plenty of changes and other movies will come out and I'll watch some more movies.
God willing.
Yeah. What's your favorite movie of the year so far? I haven't even asked. Have you seen a whole lot of like the actual 2020 releases?
1917 doesn't count, does it?
No.
Then no.
Fine.
Yeah, forgive me for not having gotten out to the theaters.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't get to the theater in time. Sorry, I didn't get AMC stubs renewed in time for me to go to the movies. Well, Doug, where can the listeners find you and your work on the internet if they are so inclined?
You can find me at Doug's Got Jokes on Instagram or at Doug Fager on Twitter.
Great. You can find me at Diet J on Twitter and Instagram, jlightcomedy.com for all of my comedy and show info for stuff that's going on right now. And if you like the show, subscribe to the Blockbusting Patreon, where you get bonus content and episodes with me talking about what's going on and what I'm seeing and what I'm liking and what I'm not liking. So check that out. And that's about it. Doug, thanks again, dude.
Dude, thanks, Jay. Thanks for having me, brother.
Thanks. Happy to have you, man. This has been Blockbusting. Go see something good for a change.